What is up everyone, I'm back again with another horror revisited episode, and I'm going to be carrying on my Scream movie series here with Scream 3. I've already reviewed Scream 1 and 2, so if you want to check them out, the link will be down below. I'm going to be doing Scream 4 next, and I'm also going to be ranking the series at the end of these reviews from worst to best. So if you want to check them videos out, the link will be down below. Now, I just want to let you know, in the other two reviews and this one, I am going to be talking spoilers. So if you don't want to know who the killer is or who gets killed in this movie or anything about it, it might be better to go and watch the movie first and then come back. But I'm sure most of you have seen Scream 3 anyway. But there is your spoiler warning, so just a heads up. So Wes Craven returns to his popular Scream franchise, and this is the first time that Wes Craven actually directed a third in a series. He directed Nightmare on Elm Street and Wes Craven's New Nightmare. He directed The Hills of Eyes and The Hills of Eyes 2. But this is the first time he's actually done a third in a franchise. And this stars Neve Campbell, David Arquette and Courtney Cox. So Scream 3 tells the story of Ghostface returning to the movie set of Stab 3, the latest movie within a movie, to be based on the Woodsboro murders from the first Scream film. And he's very keen to know the whereabouts of Sidney Prescott, who's gone into hiding under a new alias known as Laura. So Scream 3 has a rep for being the worst in the franchise by many horror fans, and they're right to a point. But this movie has a lot of good going for it, as well as some, well, quite a lot of bad actually. But there are parts of this movie that I did enjoy. Now, before I get into it, this is famously known for Courtney Cox's fringe hairdo. That famous fringe that she has in this movie. And my fiance hadn't seen this film before. It was a first time watch for it. And when Gale Weathers appears on screen, I just heard my fiance go, oof. And I said, are you referring to her fringe? And she said, yeah, what the hell's going on with that? So even she noticed it. And I don't think, any awards were given out or any Oscars were given out here for makeup and hairstyling, let's put it that way. And like Scream and Scream 2, this movie has a very strong opening scene. It got me excited for the movie because I hadn't seen this for a very long time, and I think I've only seen it like twice when I've seen the other movies a lot. And I thought, this isn't going to be as bad as people say, because it basically opens with Cotton Weary on the phone to the Ghostface killer, and he says he wants to know where Sidney Prescott is, and if he doesn't tell him, he's basically going to kill his wife. And then the camera cuts to Ghostface in the house where Cotton's wife is in the shower, and I thought that was really creepy, really tense, and Cotton's rushing home to get to his wife to save her, and of course both of them are killed off. And I just think that was a very good way of opening the movie up, really set the movie up for me. And the other big positive for me was the final act. Not to jump too far, but there's a lot of, killings going on, a lot of cat and mouse games with the killer and Sidney. Sidney's got to go and rescue her friends, Gale and, Dewey, who are tied up. So really, it's just the two bookends of the movie. It's the middle ground that really has its problems. But there is some other good moments in the middle of this movie too. I thought a big plus was Sidney's mother is introduced into this movie a little bit more. Obviously, she's dead, but we learn a lot of history about Maureen Prescott, and I thought that was a very good idea. It made it interesting. And even though she's not in the movie, she seems like a new character in this. And I thought that was quite interesting to, hear about her history and the character of Maureen Prescott, because we don't really know much about her in the other movies. We know little snippets and stuff, but, I thought that was a good addition to the movie. And I just want to mention a lot of people's favourite Scream Queen here. The final girl, Sidney Prescott. I admitted in the first movie, I didn't really take to her much. I thought she was a bit of a dull character. But here, she's probably my favourite character along with Gale. As each movie's gone, she's progressed into a better character for me. She's a stronger character. She's into the role more. And I was really rooting for Sidney in this movie. However, that is helped along by something else, which I'll get into in a minute. Also, there's a very risky scene in this, but it paid off for me. It's the one with Randy. If you remember, he was killed off in Scream 2. He made a videotape for the survivors, i.e. Gale and Sidney, saying, if you're watching this, I must be dead. And basically, it's the rules of a trilogy. And he's like, even you can die in this one, Sid. And, it really got me thinking, well, anything can happen here. And that's a very risky scene, but it worked for me. It could have worked out really stupid, but I quite liked it because Scream is famous for parodying horror movies. The first one parodied horror movies. The second one parodied sequels, and this one parodies the trilogy. And I thought it was important to keep them little rules in there and let the audience know. He's telling the cast members, but he's also telling the audience, like he did in the other two movies, without looking at the audience, of course. Also, for my final positive about this movie, guys, Lance Henriksen is in this. So that does bring me to my negatives of the movie, guys. And firstly, I'm going to mention the kills in this. They're just very simple, not very well thought out, not unique, not original. They're just all the same, really. Just a simple slice and dice, or most of them are off screen as well. There is one other kill I've just remembered, but it's a negative. I will get onto that in a bit. But 95% of the kills in this movie are just simple slices and dices. Even the first scene that I really loved, they're just killed simply by the easiest, cheapest way possible. So yeah, as a slasher movie, gorehounds aren't going to be over the moon with the kills in this. And when I said Sidney is helped along by something, I was on about the other characters in this movie. I just could not relate to nearly all of them, apart from the main ones like Gale, Dewey and Sidney. You've got the small detective guy who just, you know, there's that scene where he's arresting Roman, the Stab 3 director, and he's just like, yeah, this is the scene where you come with us. And I'm like, okay, he's just up his own ass, you know, he's just a bit full of himself. And you've got the Stab 3 cast members who basically, one of them is playing Gale in the movie, one of them is playing Sidney, and so on. And they were just not likeable to me. I did not care if they were killed. A lot of them came across as annoying, and some of them were just filler. I didn't care for them. Kevin Williamson can make a good script, and I think he just wrote the characters here, but some of the writing here is just not good for the characters. And Dewey and Gale, like, they end on a good note in the first one, and the second movie, they're at each other's necks when they meet each other because they broke up. And then they finish on a good note, but here it starts again. They just don't like each other at the start of the movie, and it just got a little bit stale. Please tell me in Scream 4 that does not happen. I haven't seen that movie for a while, but... And also one other thing about the writing, all the killings start up again, you know, and Sydney's in hiding, but she's got contact with her father, and the father goes, maybe it's about time you come home, kid, huh? You know, I think this is the time you should come home. And it's like, this is the worst time ever to come home, Dad. Didn't you think about that? You know, it's just the worst time Sidney could come out of hide when the killer's at large. Also, I didn't really have a problem with the location of this movie on the set of Stab 3. In fact, I think that's quite a good idea. You know, instead of just being in high school again or whatever. But the problem is they overuse it for bits of comedy. And I'm not joking, right? There is a scene in this movie where Jay and Silent Bob walk past in character, and they actually have a few quotes in the movie. This is a fucking horror movie, for God's sake. And there's another scene where Gale and the girl who's playing Gale in the Stab 3 movie, they're trying to find out where Maureen Prescott is. So they go to the Stab 3 production film company. I don't know what it is, but the receptionist who works there. And Carrie Fisher is behind the desk, and they go, hey, aren't you? And she goes, no, I get that a lot. I'm Bianca. I could have got the part, but I never, because I didn't sleep with George Lucas. It's fucking Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher is playing this woman. It's just stupid. Look, I get that Scream can be a bit of poke fun at horror movies and stuff, but it also finds a very good balance in the first two movies of parodying horror movies, but also being a serious one. And this one just pushes the comedy way too over the edge, especially with them scenes. If you're going to do it once, it's bad enough. They do it twice, and that's a nightmare. Another thing that didn't work for me, guys, in this movie was the voice of the killer. Okay, 1 and 2, it works very well, and it does work well in this when it's the killer. But the phone voice machine thing that he's got here, it's got female voices, it's got Cotton Weary's voice on there, and I'm just thinking, how did you get all these voices to sound exactly like the characters' friends? It's just like the characters' friends, they think they're on the phone to someone they know, and it's the killer with these different voices on this thing, and it just doesn't work. It's overused. Just stick to the original formula, what Ghostface is known for. It's part of his character. And like I said, Maureen Prescott's character was a welcome addition because she's not really in the movie. We just learn of her past. But Sidney is having a few dream sequences here where Maureen does show up. She's not exactly a character, she's just in Sidney's dream. And I'm not a big fan of dream sequences, guys, and these ones just did not work for me. I mean, there's the odd one in movies I can get along with, but if they have to be there, but again, it was just a poor choice. The cheap dream sequences thrown in for nothing. You know, it just doesn't work. And along with that, if you're not a big fan of dream sequences, you're probably not a big fan of cheap jump scares, because that's what the worst horror movies do. And there's a lot of cheap jump scares in here. You know, Scream 2 had one bad cheap jump scare. This one's got about 5 or 6. And another big negative for me, guys, is another scene where someone is killed. And I did say most of the kills are stab kills. Yes, 95% of them. But this one is where the house blows up. And it's the worst kill in the movie, even though all the others are very mediocre, because it just doesn't seem believable to me. And I'll explain why. So basically, the characters are reading a script, and it says, the characters are all alone, Ghostface is at large, in the house with them. So basically, it's what's happening to them right now, coming through the fax machine. So they all run out the house, and the guy who's playing Dewey in the stab movie, he decides to run back into the house. He goes, I want to know what happens. So he reads the script, and he can't see it. It's a little bit too dark. So he goes into the kitchen, still can't read it, and then he picks a lighter up, and it says, the one who can smell the gas will die next. And then the house blows up because he's lit it with a lighter. Now, the problem with this, for me, is Ghostface is banking on someone running back in the house, then going into the kitchen. He's got a bank on that too, and then he's got a bank on someone finding a lighter and lighting her up. And to top it off, he's actually got time to read the line before the house blows up. It's just a terrible, terrible movie death scene. And I did say the final act was the best. And yes, it's everything up to the reveal. You know, where Sidney's got to play cat and mouse with the killer. She's got to rescue her friends. That is all good. But when it's revealed to be Roman as the killer, that's where it goes downhill a little bit for me. Because you guessed it, over-explaining. It was the problem in Scream 2, and it's even worse of a problem here, because we find out that Roman is actually Sidney's brother, and you know, he organised the death of Maureen and all that. But because it's so complicated, he has to explain even more than the previous two movies. You know, he's just throwing answers at us as an audience, and we're all just like, oh yeah, well, just kill fucking Sidney. Why'd you have to explain everything? Okay, I get he's doing it for the audience, but it just drags on too long, and it ultimately is his downfall, like every other killer in this series. They just take the time. And you know, the whole Sidney's brother thing, I don't know if that worked for me. Maybe it does for some others. But what I don't like is, in Scream 1 and 2, they done a very good job of masking the killer. You know, cleverly done. In this, they cheat the audience, because just before the reveal happens, we see Roman dead, with a knife through him, in a coffin, in the prop room. He's dead. You know, it's telling you, the audience, he's dead. So obviously he's faked his own death, but how are we meant to guess that as an audience? You know, I'm willing to bet that in the year 2000, when this was released, 98% of people did not see that coming. And you know, it's sort of it's a whodunit movie, so you know, that's the whole fun in guessing who the killer is. And you know, you get a little victory at the end if you think you got it right, but you just cheated here. It just cheats you. You cannot guess the killer in this movie because you think he's dead. So it was just a cheap way of putting that across for me. Also, the killer in these movies likes to come back for one last scare, and this is the worst one by a mile. Scream 1, it worked with Billy because you might have seen that coming. Scream 2, we think Mrs. Loomis is getting up and Mickey gets up behind her, but in this one, there is only one killer, obviously, and Roman gets up and he's shot about 10 times by Dewey, I think it is, and he's just like, and they're all saying, shoot him in the head, Dewey, shoot him in the head, so he shoots him in the head. It's just stupid, overused. It didn't even have to be in there. It's just didn't work for me. I'm just going to go ahead and rate Scream 3 now. I'm going to give Scream 3 a 5.5 out of 10. Look, there was some good moments here. I enjoyed some of the moments in this movie, but it has way more flaws than it does good. However, it's still an enjoyable entry into the franchise. There are definitely worse series of movies and franchises than Scream. You know, consistently, it's not too bad, the Scream franchise up to now. And at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact, and Wes Craven actually decided to shoot 3 different endings to this movie and not tell the cast members which one he was going to use, much to their annoyance. And, you know, it's also used in the movie on the Stab 3 set. All the characters of the Stab 3 are arguing that there's 3 different scripts, and the idea actually came from Wes Craven doing that with Scream 3. Okay guys, I hope you all enjoyed this review. Look out for my Scream 4 review. If you want to check my other reviews, the link is down below, like I said at the start of the video. And if you want to subscribe, please feel free to do so. If you want to comment about Scream 3 or any of the Scream movies, just write it underneath and I will reply to every single one of you, I promise. Okay guys, take it all easy, and I'll see you all in the next video.